executive action coming. An executive action on the border.
Counting on the border action happened by itself, the passing it.
The border action happened by itself. Not really sure what that means. I can't wait to ask Mark about that. Joining me now, the big cheese, executive director at the Center for Immigration Studies, my buddy Mark Kirkorian. Mark, okay, we've obviously gotten long past that age where we're pretending like they accidentally stumbled and bumbled and opened up the border. This is all part of the plan, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's all intentional. There's no question about it. I'm not sure plan is the word for it, because I don't think they've planned much of anything. The reason they've done this, and they're sticking to it, even in the face of political pushback, is they don't think it is morally right to keep anybody out of the United States. They think immigration law is immoral in itself. It's like Jim Crow. And so they were told in 2020 and 2021, during that period between the election and the inauguration, the transition, where the two sides, the actual people working in the offices meet and kind of hand over the keys to the men's room and all that stuff, they were told, look, don't do this. It's going to blow up in your face. It's bad for the country, but it's going to be bad for you guys too. Don't do it. They did it anyway, but I don't think it was a plan in the sense that they have a specific objective in mind. It's intentional because they think stopping people from coming here is wrong. And so, of course, this is what's going to happen. And they'll backtrack a little if they have to, hedge a little just for political expediency, but they don't believe it. They think it's wrong to keep anyone out of the United States.
Okay, Mark, honestly, I hate to ask you to try to psychologize these monsters, but could you please explain that to me? How could any human being anywhere in the world believe controlling the immigration into their country is a bad thing? That's very clearly, obviously you're correct. That's what they believe. Why?
Well, let me make clear, I'm not licensed to practice psychology in the District of Columbia, but they don't believe in countries. I mean, this is John Lennon's Imagine song. This is the immigration policy of John Lennon's Imagine song. They think that borders are like a county line. It determines who's going to fill the potholes on either side, but that's all it means. It has no significance. People have a right to move to the United States if they want. This is a different worldview, and honestly, I'd almost prefer they were doing this for cynical political reasons to import voters, because that's something it's easier to fight. This is a basic disagreement about the sort of the principle of nationhood itself, and that's not something you can argue people out of. You just have to defeat them at the polls. There is no other alternative.
We'll come back to that. You have a piece up about how a future administration can fix the border. We look at it right now and it looks unfixable, Mark, but it is fixable, right?
Of course it's fixable. I mean, it was fixed 3 years ago, and it wasn't perfect. I mean, there's a lot of things that the Trump administration still needed to do, and there were things that Congress does need to change. I mean, it's not as though the immigration law is like totally perfect, but there's plenty to work with that you can unwind this. The problem is things are always always harder to stop than they are to start in this kind of thing. It's kind of like it's easier to tear a house down than build one. It's easier to tear the border apart than it is to build it, but it can be done. Look, why are people doing this? They're not doing this because of climate change or, the life in the third world got worse. Yeah, it's bad in a lot of places, no question about it. This has happened, though, starting January 20th of 2021, because this administration is letting almost everybody go. If you walk across the border, the odds of your just being let go are really high. And look, these prospective illegal immigrants aren't stupid. They're weighing the odds. They're saying, is it worth spending this money, taking these risks? What are the odds of success? Under this administration, the odds are high. So the solution really is, when you boil right down to it, you have to stop releasing people. You have to detain them, hold on to them, and then bounce them back to their home countries, disappointed and broke, so that the people who are there see, oh boy, I better not try. The odds have now changed. And until they do that, this is not going to change, but it can change. And frankly, if there's a new administration, I think the odds are pretty good it's going to turn around relatively quickly.
Mark, how should a nation handle a country like Venezuela, where they're emptying their prisons on purpose, they're dumping their problems onto us, and they're actually not allowing us to return Venezuelans back to Venezuela? So what do we do then?
Yeah, the first thing to know about Venezuela, about the immigrants coming from Venezuela, and also Haiti, this is true, most of them aren't coming from those countries. They left years ago and were settled somewhere else, and then realized that they could trade up to come to the United States. Now, what you're seeing now is, in fact, that Venezuela is encouraging criminals to leave. And frankly, if you're reading the news in Haiti, it's a complete disaster area. The gangs have taken over a jail and sprung everybody. So there is a real issue there. The first thing you need to do, first of all, is not let them go. You need to keep them in detention. You need to pressure countries to take their own people back. There are a lot of countries that slow walk or just refuse to take people back. And under this administration, we're not even taking the minimal steps to pressure them. But the big thing we need to do, and this is something that will require, some thought and diplomatic activity, we need to establish a good relationship with another country somewhere else and pay them basically to take people that we can't send back. The British and Denmark tried this with Rwanda. They were actually they wanted to send illegal aliens to Rwanda. And the point was, Rwanda would give them asylum. If you're really fleeing persecution, then why wouldn't you go to Rwanda? Israel actually succeeded sending illegal immigrants, regular African illegal immigrants, to Rwanda until their Supreme Court nixed it. But the point is, that kind of setup is the answer in the end to the kind of problem that you're talking about, which isn't just limited to Venezuela. I like to call it remain in Mongolia, because we should have an agreement with Mongolia, and it's a friendly pro-American country. Pay them, deliver money to their girlfriends, their mistresses, Swiss bank accounts, whatever it takes, and say, look, if you want asylum, Mongolia will give you asylum. If you don't want to go to Mongolia, then don't try to sneak across our border.
Enjoy life on the Asian steppe. I heard it's lovely there in the winter. But Mark, what can state and local governments do about the illegals? Because obviously we're not anticipating any big moves or help from the feds anytime soon.
There's a lot state and local governments can do, both to help the feds enforce immigration law or to interfere with the enforcement of immigration law. In fact, our current podcast, Parsing Immigration Policy, on the podcast platform of your choice, specifically about this question: what can states and localities do? The place they can do the most is criminals that they arrest for regular reasons, not immigration reasons. Drunk drivers, somebody's a drug dealer, beats his girlfriend, whatever it is. All of those people, anytime somebody's booked and fingerprinted, those fingerprints go to DHS. They go to FBI, but they also go to DHS. And so ICE knows who most illegal immigrants are. They have some paperwork on them. And what a sanctuary city means is they won't cooperate with ICE. But what states and localities can do is they can cooperate with ICE, enhance their cooperation. And at the state level, a state government can ban sanctuary cities within its state. The feds can't tell cities what to do, but cities are created by the state governments. They can ban sanctuary cities. So that's number one. Number two, you want to make your state less attractive to illegal immigrants, even if they're not criminals. And the key thing there is E-Verify. Online system helps employers, when they hire somebody, tell whether the person is legal or not. And some states require it, most don't. You want to act against illegal immigration? That would be, my job, I guess, job two, after cooperating better with ICE.